Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Lady Nyca in with True Crime Fridays. We are doing a 2-for-1 on this Good Friday. I hope everybody has been doing pretty well. I hope you have had a wonderful week and you're looking forward to your weekend. I know I am, honey. So since we are doing a 2-for-1 today, I'm going to go ahead and jump right on into our first story. And our first story is the story of Jennifer and Sarah Hart. Okay, seen here on the photo right here. This is Jennifer and Sarah Hart. And on March the 26th of 2018, in Northern California, a motorist on the Pacific Coast Highway spotted a horrific sight amidst the otherwise resplendent scenery. The twisted remains of an SUV that took a deadly 100-foot plunge off a cliff into a craggy shoreline below, landing upside down. In the wreckage, authorities recovered the bodies of two women, three children, later identified as, uh, the married couple was Jennifer and Sarah Hart, both 38 years old, and three of their children, 19-year-old Marcus and Abigail and Jeremiah. 3 days before the Hart's crash, there were some things going on. This is a picture of the Harts and their adopted children. 3 days before the crash was reported, Washington State Department of Social and Health Services received a call alleging that the Hart children appeared to be potential victims of alleged abuse or neglect. The state's DSHS tried unsuccessfully to contact the family on three occasions. The first time on March the 23rd, and then they tried again on March the 26th and March the 27th, not knowing that the family had perished at the last time. The Harts had six adopted children: Marcus, 19, Hannah, 16, Devontae, 15, Jeremiah, 14, Abigail, 14, and Sierra, 12. Police believe all children were inside the vehicle when it went over the cliff. Three kids recovered immediately from the vehicle were not wearing seatbelts. Investigators believe the other three were unaccounted for at the time, which were Sarah, Hannah, and Devontae, were likely ejected from the SUV. On April the 15th, 2018, Mendocino County Sheriff Department stopped calling the scene an accident and they now saw it as a crime. And why? Because the investigators recovered evidence from the SUV software that suggested Jennifer, who was driving, purposefully accelerated off that cliff. They cited the lack of skid marks near the cliff's edge, indicating that the car did not attempt to break evidence. The crash may have been intentional, although no suicide note was ever found. Now, friends of the Harts didn't believe for a second that that was an intentional thing. According to them, the Harts were an incredible and inspiring, and joyful family who lived a charmed life. These two monsters killed themselves and those kids. Jennifer, who was driving, blood alcohol level was at 0.102, and Sarah and the kids had large amounts of diphenhydramine, aka Benadryl, in their systems. Jeremiah and Abigail, along with Marcus, was found dead in the crash at the same day. Sierra, age 12, was found at sea. Hannah, 16, was identified after her foot, still in its shoe, was washed upon a beach. Devontae, seen here in the photo. Let me see if I can get that picture of Devontae. Devontae, this was the black teen whose image went viral when he embraced a white police officer back in 2014 at a protest in Portland, Oregon. Body was never found. At first, he was considered a missing person, but has since then been declared dead, and his body washed away in the ocean. These women killed themselves and those precious kids by because the gig was about to be up. They had been abusing these children and was close to being held accountable. So they took the coward way out and they will burn in hell because God don't play about old people, kids, and fools. It is the sad state of affairs that this was the out that these two ladies took. Look at these beautiful children. They made a conscious decision to adopt these babies, supposedly from already, not so good circumstances, and you were entrusted by the state and the higher power who allowed you to be able to get them to take care of these kids. And because for whatever psychological reasons y'all were not able to do so, y'all opted to abuse these children. There were reports that the kids would go to school with bruises on them. See, this is a part of what led to the investigation. There were Abigail, for one, went to school one day, bruises on her, and she said that her parents had hit her. Devontae had been reported to have gone to a neighbor's house asking for food. Now you know that they provide funding for these children, so why were they ever malnourished? Why were they ever abused? See, this is the part of the system that I don't like. There are so many people out here all willing to offer loving homes for these children who, yeah, they may get the financial assistance, but it's not all about that. But you have people like Sarah and Jennifer who will get these babies and do what they did to them. And instead of these two cowards facing justice, not only did they take themselves out, they took these babies out as well. That is some sick and demented stuff. I am just, when I read about these two women, I could not believe that two people would do that. Because, see, here's the thing, it was wrong, in my opinion, for them to ever have harmed these children. But when you were alerted that the authorities was on to you guys, instead of you two killing yourselves and leaving these babies here on this earth so that they can somehow find adequate homes and have a chance at this thing called life, you guys just opted to kill everybody. So, like I said, there's a special place in here for Jennifer and Sarah Hart. Rest in peace to all six of these babies who didn't even get a chance at life. We got to do better with this court system. Moving right along into our next story. The Jennifer San Marco story. Now, some of you guys may remember this story. Jennifer, in January 30th of 2006, Jennifer San Marco, a former United States Postal Service employee, walked into her previous workplace in Goleta, California, and opened fire. She was carrying a 9mm semi-automatic pistol and was stalked her victims and shot them in the head, stopping to reload at least once. San Marcos was 44 years old at the time and had a history of psychological problems. Prior to getting her job at the post office, she had previously worked as a dispatcher for the Santa Barbara PD. San Marcos worked as an entry-level clerk at the facility, but had to be removed by police in 2003 because she was acting strangely and was placed on psychological disability. But according to her supervisors, this move was more for the safety of herself because she appeared to be more of a move for safety for the employees because she appeared to be present a danger to others. After ending her work for the post office, San Marcos moved to Grants, New Mexico, and the residents noticed bizarre behavior, which included talking to herself and stripping naked in public. Here on the screen is a shot that I found after the post office shootings. Okay. Despite her history of mental illness and being on psychological disability, San Marcos was able to buy a gun and ammunition she used in the shooting spree from two different pawn shops. Her application did include a background check, but somehow didn't turn up any problems, so she was allowed to have a gun. By the time the shooting spree ended, San Marcos had murdered five people, then turned the gun on herself and committed suicide. A day after the mass shooting, authorities found the body of San Marcos' neighbor, a 54-year-old lady, in her condominium, and another woman who had been wounded in the rampage passed away at the hospital, bringing the body count to 8 to include San Marcos. Because San Marcos died at the scenes, they were not able to question her about her motives for the killing. Some believe the murders may have been, at least in part, racially motivated. Acquaintances said San Marcos, who is white, sometimes talked to herself, spewing racist comments. A former co-worker called San Marcos particularly hostile toward Asians while working for the Postal Service, and it was pointed out all the victims were minorities. After her death, writings were found in her house indicating that she thought that she was the target of a company involved mail sorting. She was a target of a conspiracy involving the mail sorting plant. Again, see, this is where I talk about mental illness and how important it is to make sure that funding is available to help people like this. On January the 30th, she killed 7 people before killing herself in a California post office. San Marcos had been placed on disability leave due to her bizarre behavior. She would scream and shout death threats and yell profane rap lyrics. She would be seen kneeling and praying on the side of the road. She talked to herself and had an imaginary friend. She made a statement, I hope they pay. She often spoke about how the post office had wronged her. On the day of the killing, she shaved her head, missing some spots where long hair hung in the patches. She told her neighbor, I'm going to be gone for a while. I don't know what kind of demon lived inside of this woman's head, but she too took the coward's way out. I don't know what was going on that made her feel as if she could not reach out to some healthcare professionals, and maybe I don't even know how. If she was doing all of this, okay, if she was doing all of this, my question is, if y'all saw the strange and bizarre behaviors, aren't there facilities or ways that you can call the police and they can come out and assess if she could possibly be a danger to herself and get her to a facility to where she would be helped? I just don't think these people had to die, and she really didn't have to die as well. But because everything I read about her is so many articles where people have said that this woman was doing strange things. This woman was presenting herself in a way that she could possibly be a danger to not just herself but others, but nothing was done. I think because of her, some of the laws have changed, and that's the good thing. But I offer my condolences to everybody that lost their life as a result of this woman and her mental illness. And y'all just be careful out here in these streets. You just never know. Sometimes there all the time, there is always a warning before destruction. Please believe it. Oh, that was a lot. I could not believe it, but the story that really just touched me the most was this story here. I could not believe what I was hearing. And thank you to the love thing that sent me, the love thing Jen made that sent me the story about this family. I was so broken about this. And I was so hoping because Devontae, the young black boy right here, seeing here, I was hoping that they had found this child some kind of way. One of them survived, but it's been so long, they have now considered him deceased as well. You know, his body may have been washed out to ocean. I don't know, child. That's a lot. Anyway, these are our two true crime stories for the week. I thank you all so much for watching. Remember, in closing, as always, you do not have to be great to get started, but you must get started in order to be great. And it is the depth of your struggle that will determine the ultimate height of your success. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and I will see you back down here in the den next week. Peace.